play a game, just me and you. Any of this mean anything to you?
You're becoming quite a celebrity. Why is he writing to you?
If you are justice, please do not lie. What is the price for your blind eye?
The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
Whoa! This guy's crazy!
You're part of this too.
How am I part of it?
You'll see.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my new Batman trailer video. Hopefully you've had a chance to watch the trailer a billion times like everyone else. Since it's been released, there are so many more Easter eggs that have been found in the background of the footage, so we'll break it all down, starting with Court of Owls. But if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We're doing a new Amazon giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your favorite Easter egg from the trailer on the video. So we'll just number these as we go along just to stay organized, but just starting with the greeting card, because there are actually way more Easter eggs going on in this scene than were found when the trailer first dropped this past weekend. So obviously there's an owl on the cover, it's Halloween themed, so yes, the reference is to the Court of Owls, eventually showing up in the live-action Batman movies for the first time. There's a lot of untapped potential there for this new version of Gotham City. There's even the new Batman Gotham Knights video game with the Court of Owls being the main villains of that, so they're just showing up a lot more in pop culture right now. And of course the Halloween theme, because of Batman The Long Halloween Story, which I've talked about before, partially inspires some of the story of the film, but there's a lot of different movies that inspire the Batman film. The actual riddle on the greeting card that the Riddler leaves says, "What does a liar do when dead?" The answer to that is that he lies still because he's dead. He can't move, so obviously that's a reference to the victim here that he's duct taped up. But the text on the cover of the greeting card reads, "From your secret friend." That's also a huge Easter egg for the Zodiac Killer for any of you true crime fans. So back in 1970, the Zodiac Killer left a Halloween greeting card note for one of his crime scenes in the police that looked exactly like this with its own version of a riddle. And the police sketch of him at the time made him look exactly like the Riddler does with his head covered in glasses on top of his mask. Creepy as hell, but Matt Reeves said in particular that the aesthetic of the Batman movie was based on gritty 1970s cop shows and movies like Chinatown. Think about how the movie Chinatown ended too. Forget it, Batman, it's Chinatown. That also kind of makes you wonder if the Batman movie will have a similar not so happy ending. So I won't spoil the ending of Chinatown if you haven't seen it. It's a great film, so be sure to go and watch it at some point. But a lot of you will notice that that's also the same aesthetic as the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, even though Todd Phillips claimed that last year that there were no plans to cross over Joaquin Phoenix's Joker with Robert Pattinson's Batman. It would be badass. But the timeline for that doesn't quite work out because Joaquin Phoenix's Joker would have to be in his 60s by the events of the Batman movie. If you look at this Lincoln Navigator in this scene of the movie, this looks like it's from the last 10 years. So the movie actually seems like it's taking place at least in the early 2010s, relatively close to present day. The Riddler himself also resembles the Earth 1 version of the Riddler, much more stripped down, much more realistic. If you didn't read any of the Earth 1 Batman comic books, that was a version of Batman and his rogues gallery at Gotham City that were much more like the year 1 or even year 0 versions of the characters. Everyone was running around in much more realistic costumes. No one had become the fully realized comic book versions of their characters yet. There was also an Army veteran on Twitter recently that noticed that the Riddler's entire costume in the trailer is Army surplus gear that anybody could go out and buy right now. It's kind of the same situation for some of Batman's gear too, like look at his boots. Those look like normal thick boots that anybody could go buy on the street. Matt Reeves said that Batman is in this constant state of evolving his suit and his methods because he's only in his second year of wearing the cape and cowl. The Gotham news outlets have only been reporting on him recently, and some people still kind of think of him as a myth, and the other regular people of Gotham City are afraid of him because he's kind of like this bat-themed Baba Yaga coming into the night just to beat the crap out of people. So he hasn't become the full symbol of hope for Gotham that he will eventually become over the course of this new Batman trilogy. There were a lot of you that were also asking about Hush in this Riddler scene here, just because he's using so much duct tape and his costume seems similar to something that Hush would wear. As far as I know, Hush is not a character in this movie, but he does employ some similar tactics as the Riddler's using here, and during the Batman Hush comic book. Careful for spoilers for that if you haven't read it yet. So during that story, you find out that the Riddler had actually been manipulating Hush the whole time, orchestrating events against Batman after having learned his secret identity as Bruce Wayne. Hush was another storyline that also involved all of Batman's biggest villains, just like The Long Halloween. A little while after the trailer was released, we also got confirmation on Colin Farrell's version of the Penguin. He's this guy here. There was a lot of questions about what was going on with him in the trailer. He's unrecognizable just because of the makeup job and extreme prosthetics. He's also the same character in this scene here during the Batmobile chase, yelling, "This guy's crazy," when Batman's coming after him. Colin Farrell is a fantastic actor, so I can't wait to see what he does with this version of the character. But the other major Court of Owls Easter egg that someone spotted recently was this reference when Batman is using his grappling hook in the stairwell to clear this giant group of thugs that are chasing him through the building. As he's flying up, the camera rotates around at all these people chasing him. You notice one of them is wearing a very visible owl mask. So the current theory right now is that that person is just meant to be another reference to the Court of Owls, not an actual member of the court himself. Like, he's not a Talon, he's not part of the shadow government, he's not some secret rich person chasing Batman around with this group of thugs. And just like other big Batman villains like the Joker, the Court of Owls won't actually show up for real in this first new Batman movie. They're just planting the references and seeds for them to eventually show up later. The current report on the version of the Joker from Matt Reeves' Batman movies, multiple movies mind you, is that he won't show up in this first one, but somewhere in the sequels. Some people think he's going to show up in the second film, some people think he's going to show up in the third film. It's too soon to tell, but it sounds like they're introducing a lot of villains in this first movie and then laying the groundwork with Easter eggs to introduce even more in the next movie, just creating the universe for Robert Pattinson's Batman. And right now, the only way I think that Matt Reeves' Batman is going to wind up crossing over with other DC movies like the Justice League character movies will be through The Flash in the multiverse. As far as Matt Reeves has said, there's not any big plans for that right now, but that could always change in the future. I just did a big video on the Flash teaser trailer that they released at the Flash movie panel, and there was all this talk about them connecting all these different DC movies from the past 30 years. So if you watch the DC TV Crisis on Infinite Earths, they sort of try to connect a bunch of different TV shows with some of the movies, including the Justice League movie. It sounds like the Flash movie will also do a version of that for a bunch of other DC movies too. So that's how you explain Michael Keaton's Batman being on a separate Earth from, say, like Val Kilmer's Batman and even George Clooney's Batman. No joke, they did include footage of Clooney and Val Kilmer's Batman during the big multiverse montage in the Flash movie panel. That doesn't mean that they're going to show up during the Flash movie, but they might make references to quote-unquote other versions of Batman out there somewhere in the multiverse. And that would include Robert Pattinson's Batman. For now, the version of Batman that's going to be crossing over with a bunch of other DC movies in the future will be Michael Keaton's Batman, and he'll be coming from the 1989 Tim Burton Batman movie universe. The current talk is that he'll also be doing a live-action Batman Beyond movie at some point with a version of Terry McGinnis. There were a lot of you that watched the Batman trailer here and felt like aesthetically it felt kind of like a Batman Beyond trailer because the logo looks a little bit like the Batman Beyond logo, the way it comes in, and Robert Pattinson's Batman looks a little bit like Terry McGinnis, or even a version of Nightwing for that matter. If you're looking for a reading list of the Batman comics that inspired the Batman movie, obviously I've talked about Batman The Long Halloween, but there's also Batman Year One, and Matt Reeves specifically called out Darwin Cook's Batman Ego as a way to sort of show Batman's duality with Bruce Wayne, just because it's going to be much more of a character-based movie than previous Batman movies. You also probably heard about Matt Reeves doing a Batman movie spin-off TV show for HBO. So the Batman HBO series is actually going to be set during the events of Batman Year One. It'll follow the Gotham City Police Department and sort of set up the events of the Batman movie. I don't know how many seasons it's going to run or who all the main characters are going to be. There's a very Bullock-like character that they describe when talking about the main character. But when we find out more about that series and how Batman figures into it, because it is Batman Year One, I'll do more videos about it. And obviously I will do episode videos for it when it releases. So everyone just let me know in the comments all the other Easter eggs that you've spotted since watching the Batman trailer a billion more times. There were a bunch of video game trailers that DC dropped, so I'll try to do videos for those too in the next day or two. There's a bunch of other stuff coming up, but leave all your requests in the comments below. I will do more Batman videos as we get more details about the movie. Keep in mind that all the trailer footage in this trailer here is only taken from about 25% of the movie, so you have to imagine what it's going to look like when they finish filming the entire movie. It'll be crazy. While you wait for everything, click here to watch the trailer a billion more times, and click here for the Flash movie teaser trailer and all the other trailers from DC Fandome. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.